Okay, awesome. We should be live. Welcome to another Finance Friday. Can you check the screen? Welcome to another Finance Friday. We are back once again. Every Friday, we do these courses. If you've never seen this before, my name is Jerry. I'm the CEO, founder of Wealth DynamX. And what we do on these courses is we teach about finances, we teach about money. Okay. And my topic this week is the topic of what is real wealth. Now, if you're watching this, if you've never tuned in before, the whole money thing is important. Okay. Everyone that watches this on a regular basis, we all agree we need money, right? There's a reason why we go to college. There's a reason why we go to school. There's a reason why we get jobs, careers. But the thing is we work for it and we work for it and we work for it. And it never seems like it's enough. And we see a lot of times these people that, they don't do the traditional route and somehow they end up with financial freedom. Right. And so we kind of have that where we see, and for me growing up, I saw people that had money and I was like, okay, that looks interesting. It looks good. But then I would hear things like money can't buy you happiness. Money's not everything. And things that basically kind of disincentivized or made it sound like money wasn't a good idea. And so there was this intention and counter intention that I was raised with of, okay, I know I need to have money because that's why I'm going to school and that's why my parents work and that's why someday I'm going to work. But then also money might also be bad and wrong, but I need it, but also it could potentially be evil. So I had this weird thing of I didn't know which direction to go. Okay. And I've talked about before, right? When it comes to finances, we all have three choices, right? We can all choose poverty, we can all choose denial, or we can all choose wealth. And so early on in my life, because of that confusion, I was led to pick poverty. I thought that this was something I shouldn't pursue. I thought it was something that wasn't good. And so because of that, I wasn't going to pursue it. Right. And so that led to me being, homeless at times, paycheck to paycheck, struggling. And it wasn't something that, I was winning with in my life. I wasn't winning with this thing called money. And so what I want to talk about tonight is how do we win with it? And what is this thing called wealth? It's almost like a mystery, right? What is wealth? What is real wealth? And I put together a couple of definitions that I got from the dictionary on this topic that we're going to go through. But before we dive into it, I want to give a couple of ground rules. I cover these every week. So first things first is I want you to think about what is your purpose for watching this course. If you're watching live, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Wealth DynamX University, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it might be, what is the reason why you're watching this? Right? You have to have a purpose. Otherwise, this is an hour-long course. You're probably going to quit and go watch something else. Right. So I want you to think about why am I here? What am I trying to get out of this? And what am I trying to apply? Second thing is this topic of wealth. If you're not there yet, it means you don't know it all. Right. We have a tendency to think we know it all and we don't look at our results unless I am by definition, which we're going to cover tonight, wealthy based on the points and definitions we'll cover in this course. Unless I'm already there, then I have more to learn. Okay. And so that's one of the barriers to learning is thinking I don't have to learn anything because I know it all because I have this idea, that idea, I have this reinforced belief system and that reinforced belief system, or my parents think this way and my school or my church thinks this way. And I think the same way. So I must be right. I don't need to learn anything else on the topic. Okay. That's the number one way not to learn something. Okay. Now, the next thing is keep it positive, especially if you're on social media watching this. Wealth is a topic right now that I have never seen it more attacked and I have never seen it more hated culturally. Right. We have groups of people that think if you're wealthy, you're evil and stealing from everyone else. We're going to talk about that tonight as well. So keep it positive. If you don't agree with me, great. We can disagree and we can be friendly about it. Right. And so make sure that you're positive in the comments. And then finally, we will go over and answer questions live as we do every week. So if you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you're on Zoom, and you want to discuss this, or maybe you have a situation you'd like to go over, or maybe just something we talked about that you'd like more clarification on, drop that in the chat and we'll go live. Same thing with if you're on Facebook. Okay. Now, this first thing I want to cover is what is wealth, right? What is real wealth? Now, I put real wealth because as you're about to see in a moment, there are several definitions of this word wealth. And there's one of them in particular that I want to pinpoint. Okay. So we obviously have the normal ones we're used to. Let me fix my screen a little bit. We have the ones that we're accustomed to, right? So we all know wealth, we think money, right? And so money is something that everyone comes up with and everyone is like, okay, wealth must mean money, right? That is a definition of wealth. If you look it up in the dictionary, it talks about money. What about valuable possessions? I own lots of things. That's also a valid definition of wealth. There's another one that's a little more open-ended, abundance, right? Wealth also refers to economics. Wealth refers to rich or valuable contents, like a soil can be wealthy because it has lots of minerals in it. And then there's also the state of being rich. which I think is a terrible definition because I don't think rich and wealth are the same thing. I think rich has to do with income. I think wealth has to do with assets and net worth and passive income. But we won't dive into the semantics of the differences between rich and wealth. But these are all valid definitions. If you go in the dictionary, you'll see to some degree these definitions of wealth. Right now, just to prove this one is money, this one is about money. This one is about money. So there's 6 definitions we covered. 3 of them explicitly have to do with money. Now, this weird thing happens when we start talking about wealth. Automatically, people think money, and then automatically they think greed, and then automatically they think scarcity, and they think about stealing and unethical behavior and yada, 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 and how this happens and that happens, and it's not fair, right? Only 3 of these definitions explicitly have to do with money. Think about it. Valuable possessions. Isn't that subjective? Right? When I was a kid, I collected basketball cards. I thought those were valuable possessions. I had a wealth of basketball cards. That has nothing to do with money, right? Abundance, that has nothing to do with money. I can have abundance of anything, right? Rich or valuable contents. Something can have rich or valuable contents and have nothing to do with money. So by default, 6 definitions, if my mind automatically wanders to wealth only means money, it means I don't actually understand what the word means. Right. And if I don't understand what the word means, it means I'm not intelligent on the subject. And this is not an offensive statement or an insult, but it means that I'm not qualified to discuss it. I'm not qualified to debate it if I don't even know what it means. Have you ever tried to argue with someone about something or debate something where you quickly realize they didn't even know what they were talking about? Right. That's this. When you say wealth and someone's like, oh, they're greedy rich people, they're thinking of one definition. It means that they misunderstand the word wealth 5 different ways. Think about that. That's substantial. Like, apply that to something else. Like, if you're a doctor and you don't know what CPR means because there's, let's say, multiple definitions and you've only got one of them. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I don't know if there's multiple definitions of CPR, but you can see how that could go wrong because I'm fixated on one definition. When someone says CPR, that's all I think about, and I neglect the other 5, 6, 7 or more definitions. Someone could die over that, right? Same thing with driving. Brake. You say brake, and I think about brake like I'm in the break room at work having lunch, and I don't hit the brake and we get in a car accident because I don't understand the word brake. That's what happens with wealth. Okay. Now, what I thought was really interesting is as I looked at this, and I'm gonna go ahead and disclose to you guys, like I'm about to freak your minds tonight with this. This is gonna be something where you get done and you're like, holy shit. Okay. So I looked at these definitions. There was one of them, which is not on this list that I'm about to scroll down and go over. It's an obsolete definition, meaning it was removed from the dictionary, no longer used. This other definition was happiness. Literally, the definition of wealth originally was happiness. Think about that. That's substantial. Why was this removed? I'm going to talk about why I think it was removed, and I'm going to talk about why this is still the primary definition I operate on, because it's where the word originated from. If we go to the origin, which we're going to dive into, you're going to see that this is what wealth meant from the get-go. It always meant this. For some reason, it was changed. I don't know who changed it. I don't know why they changed it, but it was made obsolete so that wealth no longer meant happiness. Now it only meant these things, right? Now, the root of this word derives from well. Wealth actually comes from the word well, right? Now, if you look at this, it's Old English well, W-E-A-L. So then you add the TH on the back of it, which is the quality of being well. So well, Old English well, meant welfare or well-being. Now, I thought this was funny because there's 2 different types of welfare. Again, words have multiple definitions, guys. So there's different types of wealth. There's different types of welfare. There's different types of happiness. But the Old English word well meant welfare or well-being, right? If you trace this back even further, the Old English got it from Old Germanic, which was from the word willon, okay? Willon meant to will, wish, desire, or to choose. Okay, so what we're saying is wealth actually means happiness. Okay, happiness comes from this word well, right? W-E-A-L, which means welfare or well-being. And the welfare or well-being that we're talking about is a choice. That's substantial. Like, and this is why I love derivations of words. When you look at the modern day dictionary, and if you look at in government regimes and groups where they try and control the population, a lot of times they do it through changing words. Okay, if you change the definitions of the words, you have more control over the people because the people don't know what it means. Why do you think in all these communist regimes, they throw out the books first? They don't want people knowing what the words mean, right? So we're saying that wealth is happiness. Happiness is welfare or well-being. We're going to talk about what those mean in a minute. And those things are a choice. Okay, check this out. Welfare, this word welfare. I initially read this and I was like, wait, is it welfare like food stamps and like WIC and government subsidies, basically, right? Like that's what, because I grew up on that. That was my family. We were a welfare family. So when I hear welfare, I think about when my mom used to drive down to that weird looking strip mall and she used to get food stamps for us. Okay. So this is the first thing I thought of was, doesn't this mean government handouts? That's a definition of welfare, but check this out. There's another definition of welfare, which means good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity, etc., of a person, group, or organization. Okay. So when we're talking about wealth, coming from this word wheel, coming from Wallon, and it means welfare and well-being, it's actually referring to this. Good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity. You got to really notice the etc. in there, which means there's more of these qualities, but it's saying you get the idea, right? So good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity, you get the idea. Those are the types of qualities that wealth actually represents, because wealth means this figure, welfare. Figure of speech, welfare. It's not government handouts. It's this, right? So really, this is not about money at all. This is talking about good fortune, right? Who's ever had good fortune where just like something good happens to you and you don't know why? It's like, man, I just had the good fortune of like running into this person, or, you know, they gave me a free thing when I went through the restaurant, or, you know, I stumbled across the $20 bill on the side of the road, right? Like that's good fortune. Everyone likes that. It's like that trait of luck. Okay. So good fortune is a character of well-being. Okay. This is actually kind of a weird fact, but Napoleon, you guys know Napoleon back in the day, short guy that tried to conquer the world. He would pick his generals based on, one of the factors was based on how lucky they were. He would watch them. And if they were lucky, like continually just good fortune would happen to them, that was a quality he wanted in his generals, right? That's a sign of good welfare. That's somebody you want to have on your team. You don't want the person with bad luck, right? The guy that's always breaking something or falling down or injuring himself. Like that's not really the dude you want to rely on to help you conquer the world. You want the guy that's like all of a sudden a unicorn shows up out of nowhere and helps him win the battle, right? So good fortune, health, like physical health, you're healthy, you're in good shape. Happiness, there's that word happiness again. Can you see how this is linked? Like wealth, literally, obsolete definition was happiness. The reason why it comes from this word well, which comes from this word well, which comes from this word welfare, which means happiness. Super logical. There's common denominators in all of this. Prosperity, right? The condition of being prosperous, which is like winning and succeeding, right? Then we have the good old etc., which means all of the other things you can think of that have to do with this. It's all similar stuff of a person, a group, or an organization. We're going to talk first about a person, right? Because you're watching, I'm here, I'm teaching. And so wealth is something I want to achieve as a person, right? But this is saying there is more potential to it. I could do this for a group. What if that group was a family, right? What if that group was, you know, a community? What if it was an organization like a church or a business, right? Or you know, a social group that I'm involved in. So these are all things that we could potentially apply this definition of welfare to. Okay. Now here's what I thought was funny. I don't know this to be true. This was just what my mind jumped to. Wealth means happiness, right? That's the origin and the original definition. It was made obsolete, meaning it was taken away as a definition. It's not actually used anymore, right? What is the thing that we're always hearing about money can't buy, right? Happiness. That's just too perfect, isn't it? Like I look at that and I'm like, man, I wonder if that's why they got rid of, if money couldn't buy happiness, then why is the definition of wealth happiness? Those two things don't mix. So if I was in control of what words are making it into the dictionaries these days, and I wanted people to think that money couldn't buy happiness, I would say, okay, wealth can't mean happiness. We have to you guys realize we have to get rid of that definition, right? Like we can't tell people money can't buy happiness and make that a meme or a saying that people just regurgitate whenever they hear money, right? If wealth literally means happiness, like there's probably a board meeting where we're going to get rid of this word now. Okay. So money can't buy happiness, but the definition of wealth literally is happiness. So check this out. if we look at all of this, and I took all of this into basically, okay, what is the summary of this for me? What does this mean for me? For me, this meant wealth means abundance and prosperity in all areas of life. Okay. Because here's what it says. It says good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity, etc. of a person. Well, I'm a person. Me as a person, I'm represented by my life, right? That's how I manifest myself as a person. And the qualities of my life when I have wealth are good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity, etc. We could pretty much condense that into the blanket statement of abundance and prosperity in all areas, right? Because that would encompass good fortune and health and happiness and prosperity. And then all of the et ceteras that we want to throw in there would be like, yeah, that's part of your life, Jerry. And if you have abundance and prosperity, then of course you're winning in all of those areas because that's what that means. Okay. So can you see the trap here of not understanding this word? Right? Because we all want this. Every single person wants this, whether you're American, whether you're, from the Middle East, whether you're Russian, whether you're from Britain, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're a male, whether you're a female, it doesn't matter. Everyone wants abundance and prosperity in all areas of their life. Every single person, except for maybe people that they've given up on it. But I bet deep down in secret, they still would like it. They still would want it. There's not a single person where you're like, hey, do you want good fortune? And like, nah, bro, I'm good. Right? Or do you want health? Right? You can see right now how many people do want health. That's why there's such an uproar over the COVIDs, right? Masks, no masks, vaccines, no vaccines. Both of them are saying we want to be healthy. They have a different method of getting there, but that's their focus is health, right? So we already know people want to be healthy. People want to be happy, right? That's the thing everyone's searching for. It's literally in our Constitution. We have I think it's the Constitution. Correct me, you guys that know this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know if that's the Bill of Rights or Constitution, but it's literally the founding documents of our country. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness was so important that when we broke up with Great Britain and we fought a war and we became independence, we're like, let's make sure we put that in our Constitution or in our Bill of Rights, because that's important enough for everybody to think about. Is they have the right to pursue happiness, right? Same thing with prosperity. Everyone wants to prosper. Okay, even the people that aren't prospering, like if you gave them prosperity, they would want it. The people that have it, check this out, the people that have it, right? Think about the most prosperous people in the world, the Jeff Bezoses, the Warren Buffetts, the Elon Musks, they're prospering, right? Obviously, it's important to them because they're doing it. Now think about the very polar opposite, the people that hate them. They're not saying, get rid of Jeff Bezos's money and not give it to anyone. No. They're saying get rid of Jeff Bezos's money and give it to me and my group. They want prosperity too. They just don't want to earn it, right? Tax the rich doesn't mean prosperity is bad. It means prosperity is good. We just think the means of getting prosperity is through stealing backed by violence, right? So everyone wants to prosper, whether you're a person, group, or organization. So wealth, abundance, and prosperity in all areas of life. Okay, which means if I'm not abundantly prosperous in every single area of my life, I'm not wealthy. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If I'm not abundantly prosperous in every single area of my life, I am not wealthy. Okay, I might have money. I might have a nice house. I might have a nice family. I might go to church every Sunday. That doesn't mean I'm wealthy. It doesn't mean I'm abundant and prosperous in all areas of my life, because I've seen people that aren't. I've seen people that they have money. They're not happy, right? I've seen people that they have a nice family. Okay, they're not doing well financially. I've seen people that go to church every Sunday, right? Then they get in the car and squabble. They're not happy. But I've seen people that they have health, right? They work out every day, but they're not winning with their marriage, or they're not winning professionally, right? There's always going to be something that's missing that disqualifies the individual from wealth. Okay, and it's usually going to be knowledge or resources, the reason why the person doesn't have that quality taken care of. But it starts with awareness and realizing that is the real definition. That is the real definition of wealth. And if I don't know that, I'm not going to pursue it. Okay. A lot of people won't pursue wealth because all they see is the prosperity part. All they think about is wealth must mean money. Money is evil because all of these rich people have it. I don't. And therefore there's not enough for me, which is totally economically nonsense, right? But that's people. And they're going to say, hey, money is a bad thing. Therefore wealth is a bad thing. But they don't realize, well, wealth also means I have a good family and I'm healthy and all this other stuff, right? On the flip side, some people are going to think money is wealth. They're going to be like, wealth is only money. Therefore, I'm going to get the jet and I'm going to get the billions of dollars and the this and the that at the expense of happiness, at the expense of being healthy, at the expense of having a good marriage, at the expense of living in the area that I want to live in, or doing the things that I want to do that actually equate to happiness. So it's so imperative that we get this definition of wealth down so that we can actually operate with it. Okay. Now check this out. Wealth, abundance, and prosperity in all areas of life. Is that not happiness? Like, by definition, is that not happiness? Abundance and prosperity in all areas of my life. I would be pretty damn happy, right? That's what I go for every day. And I'm not there yet. And I don't think a lot of us here watching are there yet. But when we pursue that, we achieve happiness, right? When I go to the gym, that makes me happy. When I help someone, that makes me happy. When what are some of the other qualities here? When I have good fortune, that makes me happy, right? These are all things that when I achieve them on a higher and higher gradient scale, it equates to me being happy because I'm achieving them. Therefore, wealth must be happiness, right? And I hate that they remove that definition, but I also love it because it shows the war on this. People don't want you to be happy. Those that the corporations that run our governments themselves, like the people behind, pulling all the strings, they don't want you to know this, because if you know this, you don't need them, right? If health becomes a priority, all of a sudden we don't need doctors and big pharma, right? If good fortune becomes a priority, all of a sudden we don't need all these superstitions, right? If happiness becomes a priority, all of a sudden we don't need to go to the therapist anymore, right? If prosperity becomes, something that's a priority, all of a sudden we don't need a financial advisor on Wall Street anymore. This stuff costs them their job. For you to be truly wealthy, for you to be truly happy, means you're firing all of those people from your life because you don't need them anymore, and they want their job security. So it doesn't surprise me that happiness was removed as the definition of wealth. Okay, but here's the thing. We get to place our own significances on words. So if you're watching, let's bring happiness back. Like, let's make that the definition of wealth again, and not just happiness. Like, I can sit there and be happy for no reason. No, let's actually go produce the things that equate to happiness: good fortune, health, happiness, prosperity, abundance, and prosperity in all areas of life. Let's go produce that, and let's experience the happiness that comes from it. And let's spread that around, because that's what we need right now. Okay, that's what everyone needs right now. So here's how I look at this. I look at this as, again, a gradient scale. On the very far end, we have poverty, right? So this is all the way over to the left. On the other end, we have wealth all the way over here on the right. Okay, so if wealth is happiness, so we have happiness here, then that means poverty is misery. Misery is the opposite of happiness. Okay, who watching has ever actually been in poverty? Okay, my hand's up. I have been, right? I've watched bugs crawl through my cereal. I've been homeless. I've slept in the woods, right? Like, I've done it. It's misery. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Then mine wasn't even that. I've seen people that are way worse than that. Okay, there's probably people watching that have gone through way worse experiences than what I just described. And you're like, yeah, that wasn't fun, and I wouldn't do it again. Because poverty is not fun. Poverty is not happiness. Poverty is misery. Okay, so if I'm in poverty, it means that I'm in misery. Let's say this is the break-even line. The closer I get to poverty, the more I become miserable. Okay, the closer I get to real wealth, the definition we covered today, abundance and prosperity in all areas of life, the more I become happy. These two things can't coexist. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay, now here's the thing: is the guy that's wealthy, he doesn't want for anything. Right? Like, if I have so much money that I have abundance and prosperity in all areas of my life, and I don't need money anymore because it's like oxygen, I'm like, I don't have to think about it. You don't think about your breath. That's a state of almost infinite, right? Like, no matter what, it's not going away. Okay, well, same thing with the guy that's in complete absolute poverty. He doesn't work. Money's not an object for him because he doesn't have any, because there's no reason to. Right? But the difference is, which one's happier? Because you could say both of them are unplugged from the system, right? The guy that's wealthy doesn't have to work. He doesn't have a job. He probably doesn't worry about his bills, probably doesn't worry about his house. He always knows he's taken care of. He always figures out a way. Same thing with the guy that's homeless in the park. Doesn't worry about his job, doesn't worry about his bills, doesn't worry about his house. He probably doesn't worry about food in his belly because he knows how to get it. Otherwise, he wouldn't still be alive in the park, right? But this guy's in misery. This guy's not. You see the similarity there, but also the distinct difference, okay? Now, this is a quote that I love. This is from Gandhi. It says, poverty is the worst form of violence. Okay, poverty is not something we want to glorify, which means if we're hating on wealth, we're bringing ourselves closer and closer to poverty, by hating on wealth, by saying tax the rich, by saying wealth is evil, by saying we should distribute the means of production to everybody, even to those that didn't actually produce anything valuable, that just want to consume, we're basically saying we want to get further and further away from wealth and closer to poverty and misery. Guys, there's no other direction you go here. Like, you either go towards one or you go towards the other, right? I said this from the very beginning. You have the choice of poverty, you have the choice of denial, or you have the choice of wealth. Denial means it's still happening. You're just pretending it's not, right? It's basically disassociating from reality. So if I don't build wealth, I'm going to gravitate towards poverty. I can ignore it and I can go to Olive Garden every weekend and drive a German vehicle and have a $2,500 a month mortgage payment with a nice bathroom and a nice master bedroom, but I'm still getting closer to poverty every single day. I'm just covering my eyes and making myself feel like it's not happening. Okay. Wealth, as we go back up to the definition here, to choose, to will, to wish, to desire, to choose. Means I postulate it, I choose it, I think it, I decide it, and then I follow it up with the actions to get there. And that's a very active and that's a very conscious decision and state. So for me to go here, right, it's going to take work, right? I'm building abundance and prosperity in all areas of life. I saw a quote that I shared several weeks back that said basically poverty is the default state, right? Like, let's say that you woke up tomorrow and you're like, hey, I'm not going to do anything and I'm just going to see what happens in my life. I'm not going to go to work. I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm not going to feed I'm going to do nothing and just see by default what naturally happens. Poverty. You stop going to work. You don't pay your house anymore. You're going to lose the house. You might get to keep the bed, but you're going to be out in the woods now, right? You stop feeding yourself. Poverty happens. You stop taking care of yourself. You stop reading. You stop helping others. Poverty naturally happens on its own. There's no condition that causes poverty. It's the natural. Okay. It's like you're going to gravitate to that no matter what, unless you go the other direction. And to go the other direction, you have to fight the pull of poverty. Okay. So for me to build wealth, I have to consciously work my way to that direction. Right. And that's the real question, is how do we do that? What does that look like? Right. So poverty is the worst form of violence. That's by Gandhi. If you think about that, like, what's more violent than poverty? Poverty is the condition where violence comes from. When you reduce people down to just their bare bones minimum, the idea of scarcity and lack comes in, and that's where we fight, and that's where we get violent, and that's where we start enforcing our power over others, right? Because there's not enough, so it's you against me. Okay. So what is abundance and prosperity? That's another thing I want to talk about. What does that look like? And I'm not going to define these for you. I'm going to give that to you as homework, but I want you to think about descriptively, what does that mean to you? Right? Like, when I think about abundance, I think about excess, like more than I need, right? Need meaning the bare minimum. Like, I have much more than I need. I have much more than the bare minimum. I think of prosperity. I think about I'm winning, right? I'm thriving. I'm succeeding. So if I'm winning, thriving, and succeeding, and at all times I have more than I need, more than the bare minimum, so that I'm never in danger of lack. That's what I personally think of when I think of abundance and prosperity. Okay. Now, what are all of the areas of a person's life? Because if wealth is abundance and prosperity in all areas of life, we would need to answer the question of not just what does abundance and prosperity actually mean, but we would need to answer the question of what are all of the areas in a person's life. Okay. Now, I attempted to make a list, and I'm going to go through these with you. There's going to be more we think of, like on the definition, right? Even they had to throw in the old et cetera. Right? The dictionary was like, yeah, we're going to name like 4 of them, and then we're just going to give people et ceteras and let them figure out the rest. I at least did like 15 of them. Okay. So what is a person's life comprised of? For me, the first one is spiritual, right? That's part of my life, which means I would be experiencing abundance and prosperity as a spiritual being. Okay. The other one is physical. That's an area of my life. Obviously, I'm sitting here in a physical body. So what happens to that body plays a large part of my life right now. So I need to think about, what does abundance and prosperity look like physically? Next is mentally, right? Intellectually, mentally, like, what does that look like? What does abundance and prosperity look like there? We have emotionally. What does abundance and prosperity look like there? Here's one that I think is funny, is we think about wealth and we don't think emotionally, right? Like, we're like, wealth means money, right? And it means that, you're this alpha person and you're the millionaire or the billionaire, and you probably don't have emotions because money doesn't have emotions. Well, no, this is saying if you don't have emotional health, you're not wealthy. You might have a lot of money, but you're not wealthy if you're not emotionally abundantly and prosperous, meaning you're able to experience whatever emotion makes sense to experience. You've got no button on it. Like if it makes sense to be pissed off, you're fine being pissed off, and then you're back to happy. If you're in a moment where it makes sense to express grief, you express grief, and then you're fine and you're happy again. Right? It's the willingness and ability to experience whatever emotion. Professional, that's another area. Like, am I abundantly prosperous as a professional? If I'm not working, no, I'm not. Right? If I'm in a career that's not fulfilling, no, I'm not. If I'm just punching the clock to get my paycheck just to pay my bills for mere survival, no, I'm not. And if that's me, I'm worse than the wealthy people that I accuse of being money motivated only and caring only about money. My whole life is based on money if I'm that person. If I'm living paycheck to paycheck, where I'm working at a job that I hate just to pay my bills, it means that I literally have forsaken every other area of my life just to get a paycheck, which means money is the only thing I care about. By definition, it doesn't matter what I say about Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett. I'm pointing at them. I got 3 more fingers pointing back at me because that's my condition. Okay. How many people do we know that hate on the wealthy, and that's them? Paycheck to paycheck, slaving away, sacrificing their life, which is finite and valuable, for green pieces of paper that literally have no value. Okay. And it's one thing if you love what you do and you're adding value and you're like, man, I would work no matter what. But if you're the person that's like, oh, it's Monday again. Oh, thank God it's Friday. Oh, it's Monday again. Oh, thank God it's Friday. Like, how are you any better than the greedy person that's a 1%er? You're doing worse than they are, because all you're doing is working for a paycheck for your life. Okay. Fun and leisure. This is important. Fun and leisure is part of wealth. Wealth is not, you sit in there with your accountants and your bricks of gold and your real estate portfolio, and you just sit there like a miser having people, draw paintings and make busts of you. Right? Like, you go use the money to go have fun. That's why it's there. You go eat things that are an experience. You travel places, you buy things, you go, you do what's fun for you. Right? Financial. This is definitely one. Like, to be wealthy, there is a financial component. Okay. Now, the other one is creative. That's another one I thought of. For me, wealth means being creative. There's certain things that are creative. For me, business is a way of me expressing my creativity, right? Me coming up with marketing and systems and ideas, right? I'm not like, and some people are different. Some people are very into like art, paintings, movies, etc. I like movies. I'm not a painting guy. I'm not a picture guy. Like, if you show me a painting, I'm like, I don't understand why this is so cool. Doesn't mean it's not cool, but that's not the way I express myself with art. Some people are, and I think everyone's got an element of that some way, somehow, right? So that's a aspect of wealth. Familial, that's an aspect of wealth as well, right? If I'm a billionaire, but my family life sucks, I'm not wealthy. Okay. Same thing. If I'm great with family, but my financial life sucks, I'm also not wealthy. It's the same thing on both sides. Friends and relationships, that would be an aspect. Groups and community, my churches, my clubs, my groups, like, those are things that are an aspect. Humanity in general, right? Like, if I'm sitting there with my billions and I'm sitting there and I'm mising and thinking about the world, and I'm like, man, people in Afghanistan really sucks, we should bomb them. I'm not wealthy, right? Even if I'm not sitting there with my billions and I'm just the average guy on Facebook sharing that garbage, I'm not wealthy, right? Humanity matters. Nature, plants, animals. I have pets. We've got 2 dogs and a cat. I love my animals. That's an important part. I want to make sure that their life is abundant and prosperous as well. Future generations. And then even I had to throw in the good old, etc., because there's probably more. And that's the thing, is everybody's different. Every single one of us is going to have priorities and ideas and things that matter. And for us to not be able to say, yeah, that matters to me and I'm winning in that area, right? Like, that's not wealth. So abundance and prosperity in all areas of a person's life, and everyone's got different valuable aspects of their life, right? Now, here's what I noticed on this. Money made up one item. Literally, money was number 7, right? So there's number 7 there. That was the only thing that was like explicitly and specifically money. Okay, so we look at this. There are probably more. I put in the etc. The likelihood is that wealth as money probably makes up less than 5% of what the actual definition of wealth is, right? Because there's 14 of these. I put in the etc. I bet you guys could come up with probably 2 or 3 more. If we divide 1 by that, we're going to get 5% or less. And it's probably less, because if we all got together and we were live right now making this list, I bet we could come up with several dozen items. And then money would be literally probably like 1% or less. Okay. So for me to look at wealth and hear wealth and then only think money and not think about any of the other areas of my life, not thinking about, oh, wealth could mean that this person is doing well spiritually. Oh, wealth could mean that they're emotionally healthy. Wealth could mean that they have a good family or they're creative, right? For me to ignore all of that and say, no, I'm reducing wealth down to the object of just money. That doesn't say anything about wealth. That says everything about me as a person. Okay, number one, it means, again, like I said in the beginning, it means I don't understand the word wealth. I'm somebody that thinks about only one thing when I hear wealth, which means I don't understand the word. It also means that I probably have something on money, right? Like let's change it to like sex. If my answer to everything was sex, you'd be like, man, that person has a problem with sex. It's the only thing he talks about. It's compulsive, right? Well, let's flip it back to money now. How is that any different? That person has a problem with money. They have something wrong with it. It's compulsive. Anytime they hear wealth, all they think about is money. That's a problem because it's more than just money, right? So I wanted to point that out. Now, how do we get there? This is the thing. How do we actually build this lifestyle? Because very few people have it. I would say even a lot of the billionaires don't. Like for me, the real wealthy people are usually like tens of millions, hundreds of millions. I don't see too many billionaires that are not flying under the radar that actually have that lifestyle, right? You look at some of these billionaires, they're getting divorced, right? They're going through lawsuits. They're not happy, and you can tell it. They're not winning in all of these areas. They're just really, really, really rich. So if even they're missing the mark, that means that probably they don't understand the definition of wealth either. Okay, now you do. And so we're asking the question, how do we get there? How do we get abundance and prosperity in all areas of life? Well, it does take money. Because I want you to think about, like, how much time per week would you need to be abundantly prosperous spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, professionally, with fun and leisure, financially, creatively, familially, if that's a word, with friends and relationships, groups and community, humanity, nature, plants, future generations, and whatever other definitions we come up with? How many hours per week would that take? It would be more than a full-time job. Now, the thing is you would enjoy every moment of it because that's the stuff that matters. Okay, so you wouldn't be like going in and clocking in 40 hours a week at a job. You'd be like, all right, I'm spending 40, 60, 80, 90 hours, 100 hours a week on my life doing things that matter, right? But it would be a full-time job, which means you couldn't have a full-time job, which means you would have to have enough income coming from somewhere else to pay all your bills so that you could go do all of this stuff instead of working a full-time job, because this would occupy all of your time. It would be a 40-hour plus a week thing. You guys catching that? So finances are required. It will take money, right? And so for me to say wealth matters, but money doesn't, it doesn't make any sense because I have to use the money to get the wealth, right? We're using, like, for us, it's dollars. All it is exchange, right? Like for me to see my church doing well, that takes money, right? I got to give, I've got to donate. For me to have physical health, that takes money. I've got to buy organic food or have a farm and go to the gym and buy supplements and vitamins. For me to have wealth mentally, I've got to buy books. I've got to pay for training and coaching. For me to be emotionally wealthy, right? I'm gonna have to hire an auditor or a counselor or a therapist or whatever. That's going to take money. For me to be professionally wealthy, I've got to invest in my skill sets. That's going to take money. For me to have fun and leisure, name more than 5 things you can do that are fun that are not money costing. It's almost impossible. I remember when I was broke, brand new married, me and Lexi would sit on the couch thinking about, like, man, what should we do this weekend? And then we like, oh wait, we don't have money. And then it's like, we could go hiking. And they're like, oh, we were like, no, you can't go hiking because they charge $5 for parking. Okay. And then it was like, well, we could walk around Walmart and not buy anything or go for a walk. And we could think of maybe 2 or 3 things we could do that were fun, right? That didn't cost money. Fun costs money. Finances cost money. Being creative, that's going to cost money. You need materials and resources to do that. Family costs money. Anyone ever have a kid or a family member that gets sick or wanting to spend time or go to a reunion? That costs money. Friends and relationships cost money. I want to be able to do things with them. Groups and community, that costs money. Humanity costs money. Again, back to the Afghanistan thing, that costed a lot of money. Nature, plants, animals, that costs money. We spend money on our dogs for good food, supplements, nutrition, vet care, whatever they need, right? Future generations, that's going to cost money. The et ceteras are all going to cost money. So for me to say I want wealth, and I understand the definition of wealth, but I'm not willing to get money, I'm not willing to financially fund this lifestyle. For me to say that means I don't understand wealth, because all of this stuff will cost money, right? Now, that doesn't mean wealth is money. It means wealth costs money. That's the thing people don't tell you is wealth costs money. Wealth isn't money. It costs it. It involves it and it costs it. And so for me to look at this and not come to that conclusion is going to be foolish. Now, how do I get the money to achieve this lifestyle? Okay, I wrote an exhaustive list. Okay. Number one, I can win it. I can go scratch lottery tickets. I can bet. I can gamble. I can buy enough Bitcoin. Hopefully the price goes up. I can try and win wealth. Okay. Now, the reality is not very many people actually succeed at that. I think the chance of winning the lottery, I think, is a lesser chance than getting struck by lightning. I can marry it. I can go the gold digger route. I can try and find some guy or some girl and be like, hey, I love you, but really I just want wealth. And I think you have wealth, so I'm going to marry you. I can inherit it. So it means I can plan to try and have a wealthy relative that's older than I am, that has an untimely death, who just happens to pass all of it down to me, right? I can steal it or try and tax it. Same thing. I can daydream it, meaning I can actually not have it, but try and pretend and imagine that I do. I can quit on it so that I don't have to pursue it, right? Again, denial. Or I can go earn it, right? And this is the one that I'm talking to you about. Wealth is earned, right? Like it says in the beginning, the definitions is a choice. It's something you choose to go pursue. It's something you choose to go earn. It's not given to you. It's not lucky. It's not privilege. It's none of that. You go freaking earn that stuff, right? And if you did inherit it, that's not even a privilege. Like they earned it. It's your family. They earned it. You have every right to inherit that money if that's what happens to you, right? If you happen to marry someone that happens to be wealthy, right? Well, the person you got it from that you married, they earned it. At some point, someone earned the wealth. It doesn't just fall out of the sky like manna. It's not the default state. If you don't work for it, if someone doesn't earn it, it does not happen, which means if you don't have it, you didn't earn it. If it's not there, it's because you haven't done the work to make it be there. Okay, it's way too convenient to point to someone else's gender or their skin color or their race or their religion or their family circumstances and blame that for the reason why they're wealthy and doing well and the reason why you're not. That's way too easy. I wish it was that simple. But that doesn't fix it, because if we take it away from them, it doesn't make you more wealthy. You only get more wealthy if you go create it and you go earn it, regardless of your race, religion, any of that stuff, genders, none of that matters, right? That's the thing that I love about wealth, is it rewards production. If you're a man, go produce and you'll build wealth. If you're a woman, you go produce, you're going to build wealth. If you're black, you're going to go produce, you're going to build wealth. If you're white, same thing. If you're Asian, same thing, right? It doesn't matter. If you go earn it, it will show up, but you have to go earn it. And if you don't, it's not going to show up. End of rant. Now, how do we get there, right? So the first thing is we have to break free from creating someone else's wealth. As we discussed, as we talked about, the wealth thing is a full-time job. Having abundance and prosperity in all areas of my life, it's going to be a full-time ordeal, which means I can't have another full-time ordeal for someone else, which means I have to achieve financial independence, aka passive income greater than savings, expenses, and taxes, so that I don't have to work anymore, so that I don't have to go to a 40-hour week job anymore, because I don't want to have to punch the clock and not experience wealth because I have to go, answer people's calls through the drive-through or help someone with accounting or whatever the job is, cleaning this up or fixing that or building that, right? I don't want to be obligated to have to do that just for a paycheck and simultaneously be giving up on my wealth. Right? So financial independence is the first step. I can't build true wealth until I'm financially independent. Now, here's the thing: is a lot of people think financial independence is wealth. It's not. Okay. Financial independence means I'm not dependent on another source of income. So I have the time freedom to go build wealth. Meaning if I'm not financially independent, like I'm going to be held back the entire time, which is why we tell people get there as fast as you can. Okay. That's what the blueprint of financial freedom is about. This whole book is how do you get financially independent? Once you're financially independent, then we start building wealth. Now, the good news is the momentum you get from building financial independence will carry you through on the wealth thing, right? Second thing, how do we get there? Begin creating your own wealth. Once you're financially independent, now you don't have to trade time for money. Now you don't have to work a job. You can go fulfill all of these areas, okay? Because you have all of your time back. Okay, I think there's like 168 hours in a week. You have all those. You're going to sleep 48, 50 of them, right? So you've still got like 110, 120 hours a week to go do in all of these areas, right? That's a lot of areas. Okay, so that's creating wealth. And then finally, 3 is achieving it, the ability to treat money like oxygen, right? And then the reason why this is so important is there's the first point, I don't have to trade time for money anymore. I don't have to go to a job so I can go experience wealth. That's one thing. B is the other thing. All of these things are going to cost money, right? Which means I'm only going to be able to do them to the degree that I have resources. I can't give to my church if I have limited resources, even if I'm financially independent. Let's say that I need to make 20 grand a month in passive income, and I have 20 grand a month in passive income, but my church needs $300,000 and I'm the only person that can help them. But I can't do that because I don't have $300,000. I've only got 20,000 a month in passive income, and that pays my bill. So I can't give it to them. That's not wealthy, right? I might be financially independent, but I'm not wealthy. And so that's why we say get to the point where you can have the ability to treat money like oxygen. Like, again, when you think about when you breathe, you're not breathing paycheck to paycheck. You're not like, oh crap, there's only so many breaths left. I have to really limit them. I've got to budget my breaths, and I've got to make sure I don't use them up before Friday. Otherwise I'm going to die. That would be a miserable lifestyle, right? And you're not like, oh, like I'm sitting there and my dog Samson's sleeping and I'm looking at how many breaths he's taking. And because he's taking in more breaths than I am, he's the top 1% of breathers and he doesn't leave enough breath for me. We need to steal Samson's oxygen so I can have some because he uses everyone's breath. No, that's not a thing, right? You need to get to the point where money is not that way. People think that way with money, paycheck to paycheck. I'm going to run out of money and it's almost Friday and I've got a budget and I've got this. Oh, he earns more income than I do. He's got more assets. She's got more assets. They're the top 1% of wealth. They're the reason why I don't have enough money because there's none left after they took it all. Like, that's how people think with money. I can't be wealthy thinking that way. I will never be wealthy thinking that way. Okay. And I will never be wealthy if I can't spend freely the resources I need to make every single one of these areas ideal. Okay. If I'm in any of these areas and I have the consideration of money, I'm not wealthy, right? Money makes an evil master. Like a master is somebody who you think about before you do everything. Am I allowed to do this? Did master say I could do this? If your master is the dollar, right? I want to feed my dog organic food. Did master, you're like little Smeagol or little Gollum. Did master say I could do this? Like, if you have enough money, you don't need to go to your master and ask, do I have enough? You just do it and you don't think about it because there's no master involved anymore. Paycheck to paycheck, you have a master every time you spend money, right? Below paycheck to paycheck broke, you got even more of a master every time you spend money. Okay. Different way of thinking, but it's real. It's true. So we get to the point of this. And then basically what that means is money does buy wealth. Okay. Here's the part you guys are going to maybe love or hate. If money buys wealth and wealth equals happiness, therefore, that means by definition, money does indeed buy happiness. Think about that, right? What is happiness? Happiness is you winning in every single one of these areas. It's abundance and prosperity in all areas of your life. The original definition of wealth is happiness. You can't do this without being financially prosperous. You can't max out every single one of these areas, let alone even have the freedom of time to do so without finances. Therefore, money buys happiness. Okay, I know that's not what we're taught. I know that's not what we mostly agree on. That might disagree with all of our preconceived notions, and we might even have cognitive dissonance on it where we don't agree with that. Therefore, we won't be able to build wealth because we can't agree with the fact that money buys happiness. Guys, it does, right? I could make every single one of you guys happy with money right now. I could do something for you that makes your life better and you would be happy because of money, right? Now, it's not, money is the tool. We're not saying money is the object. Money is the tool, right? The object is the good person on the other end that has the resources to do those things. The person that cares enough about themselves and their life and their family and mankind and all this other stuff to say, I'm a good human and I have resources, therefore I'm going to create and help. That's the object, right? Money is just the tool or the means to the object, okay? So here's what you got to do. You got to realize this is up to you and you have to create it. This whole wealth thing, it's not up to someone else, right? We talked in the beginning about welfare, right? Those who don't realize that this definition of welfare, abundance and prosperity in all areas of life, is up to me and I have to create it, they end up on the other type of welfare, which is it's not up to me. It's up to that old rich white politician. Doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. right? It's up to them. I'm going to live on their food stamps. I'm going to live on their subsidy checks. I'm going to live on their loans. I'm going to live on their bailouts, right? That's the other form of welfare. That's not happiness. I can't, that's fixed income. That's, I can't do this. That's, I have control over me. I have the total reliance on somebody else for my own happiness. That's not wealth, guys. Now, here's the obstacles. If we were to try and achieve this, these are some of the obstacles we'd run into. The first one is there's no blueprint. Okay. We solved that one. But the average person, if they don't read this book and follow the steps in this book, they're not going to get there because there's not a clear-cut blueprint. And if there was, people would be getting wealthy every single day by the dozens, right? Like you would hear about all your friends and family, like, man, Mary just got wealthy. Bill just got wealthy. You hear about Sam, he got wealthy last night because there would be an easy to follow blueprint. There's not. If you look at the financial stats, most people are paycheck to paycheck. They're broke. They don't even like the job they have, but they're broke. They've got no money for retirement. They've got consumer debt out the wazoo, right? They're one missed paycheck away from bankruptcy. Okay, so we already know they're not winning. And the reason being is there's no blueprint. We have one. So it's important to follow it, right? It's important to read it, follow it, share it, let other people know that it's there. The next one is middle-class traps, okay? As soon as you're solvent, your next obstacle is avoiding the middle-class traps, the car loans and the mortgages and the 401k plans and the tax refunds and all the things that we get sucked in with by central banks, by the IRS, and by Wall Street. Okay. Banks, IRS, Wall Street, they create and cause all of these traps. The next one is inflation. This one is unfortunate. The dollar buys less and less every year, which means every year I'm not wealthy. I need more money than I needed last year to get there. I'm going to say that again. Every year that I'm not wealthy, I need more money than I needed last year to get there because the dollar buys less and less stuff, which means I've got to work harder. I've got to save more. I've got to invest wiser. Taxation. This is the other one that's going to be an obstacle. You start making money, all of a sudden, our greedy Uncle Sam is going to want some. Right? So if I can't avoid that legally, not go to prison for it, right? If I can't avoid that, then I'm not going to build wealth very easy because there's always going to be 30, 40, 50% coming off the top every time. The other one is peer pressure and haters. Like think about this idea of wealth, right? We hear this figure, the top 1% of wealth. I want you to think about and disclude, me and the people on this webinar, just in your life and in your community. How many people do you personally know that are wealthy by this definition? Likely nobody, maybe one or two, but it's probably nobody, which means if you start pursuing it, you will be the only person in your life doing it. Your friends aren't going to be doing it. Your family is not going to be doing it. Your spouse might not even be doing it, and it might not even be doing it initially because you don't know anyone that's doing it, which means you become the one person that's doing it. You become the one wrong colored guy in the group of, I think it's the crabs, right? Where you have the crabs that try and one of them tries to get out of the cup. The other ones pull him down and rip his limbs off. That happens. It will happen to you as soon as you do this. So peer pressure, that's an obstacle. Haters, that's an obstacle. Critics, that's an obstacle. You will have it. You will have to overcome it. The other one is comfort, because you'll get to a point where you're not wealthy, but you're better off than you were before. And you're like, this is comfortable, right? I'm out of debt. I've got money saved up. I've got some investments. I've got some passive income. I can go on a vacation. I can pretty much eat whatever I want. I'm not living abundantly prosperous in all the areas, but a good handful of them. Yeah. And that's comfortable. I'm going to pitch my camp and stay here. Okay. This is the one that gets people probably in I would say the $2 to $5 million range. Like, especially if you get through 10 million, like good, you can say you're wealthy. If you want to go further than that, you can. The other one is distractions, right? And this happens especially in the financial world. We forget that the focus is on the outcome, not the tools. And so we're like, oh, a new cryptocurrency came out. I'm going to stop earning income so I can just study it, right? Like that's not going to help you build wealth. You still have to earn income. Or, this political story came out and now you're distracted, like we talked about last week, and you're no longer building wealth, right? Like there are all sorts of distractions. So distractions are an obstacle that you have to expect to come up and preemptively be ready to say no to them. Wrong definitions is the other one we covered tonight. Wrong definitions. If I forget the definition of wealth, or I have the wrong definition of wealth and I pursue the wrong target because of it, and I'm like, wealth only means money, I'm just going to collect a bunch of green pieces of paper. And then I get there and I'm like, man, how come this doesn't feel good? It's because I had the wrong definition, and I'm less likely to recover from that and redo all of the work and start from ground zero and go build real wealth because I already tried it, right? I tried it and it didn't work. And then finally is moving the target. right? Like if we have and this is stemming from a wrong definition, but the idea of, okay, well, it's not good enough. I want more and more and more, where it becomes a compulsion and you can never acknowledge what you've got, what you had, what you built, what you've earned, what you've created. That becomes an obstacle to actually building wealth, because you might actually get there and then not even realize you're there, because I'm like, oh, I got to go after the next one. No, I'm not saying don't have a next target. Definitely have a next target, but don't have a next target at the expense of the one you've already achieved. Right? Because then you're robbing yourself of your results. Like imagine like me being your personal trainer, and every single time you step on the scale, I increase your goal. I'm like, no. Technically, you didn't hit it because the goal was to get you from 145 to 130. I just moved it to 125 right before you stepped on the scale. Now you missed your goal. We're gonna go run laps and do burpees now. You would be discouraged and you wouldn't want me to be your personal trainer anymore. Why do you do that with your goals? Right? Like you set the target and then you're just about to achieve it and you're like, oh, that's not good anymore. I'm going to move it ahead. And then you never actually hit the target. You have to be able to actually hit the target. Okay. So that's an obstacle. Now, what is our action plan? This is what I'll end on tonight before we open up for questions. Number one is, if you're watching your homework this weekend, go look up the words abundance and the word prosperity. Okay. Look at every single definition. I want you to use all of them in sentences until you feel like you have a good useful understanding of it. Right? I want you to look at the derivations. I want you to look at the idioms, the synonyms, the parts of speech they're in, the origins, all of that. Like totally clear these words 100% to where you're like, man, I fully have a crystal clear concept of what abundance means and what prosperity means. Okay, because what happens is then you have an understanding of all the things it doesn't mean. Right? When you know what a word means, you know all the things it doesn't mean, and then you're able to go actually get the thing that word describes. Second, I want you to actually make a list of every single area of your life that you can think of, right? I gave you a good starting point tonight, but write down more. I came up with, I think, 14, 15 of them. I bet you could probably come up with 20, 30, 40 of them, right? Write down your ideal scene for each of those areas. So if you come up with 20 areas, I want you to write down a sentence describing what that area looks like in an ideal world. Like abundance and prosperity. What does that mean? What does that look like in that area? And write down a very specific description of it. Number 4, what will you exchange to get there? Again, wealth is created. It's something we choose. It's something that we actually decide upon. And so what will you exchange to make number 3 real? Okay. And then finally, number 5, imagine how much you will need to earn per month to make that a reality. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's perfectly accurate. You won't find out till you get there and start spending the money, but you need to start thinking with it, right? Like abundantly prosperous in every area of my life. Is that 20,000 a month? Is that 100,000 a month? Like, what does that actually look like for me to really do that? And it's going to be different for everyone. And there's no wrong answer on this. It's totally subjective, but understand what that number is. And also understand that it's earning, it's income. It's not a nest egg. It's not you build up $10 million in assets and you sell it off over time and live on it. No, that's not wealth. Because then you can run out and then you don't have abundance and prosperity. You have, let's say a $10 million net worth and it spits off a certain amount of income. So you never have to touch the 10 million. That's wealth, right? Now, the other thing I want to hit, because there's people that are going to go in this direction as they're doing this exercise, a certain level of financial wealth is required for true freedom. Okay. For me to no longer have to trade time for money, there's a certain amount of wealth financially that I have to get there, right? For me to live abundantly prosperous in all of the areas that I listed, there's a certain amount of money that I have to get there, right? That's freedom. And so I do need finances for freedom. That's what we call it, financial freedom. It buys my freedom back. Beyond that point though, because some of us, we're going to come up with numbers and we're like, man, I want to be a billionaire. And you don't need it for freedom. You would probably be free at 10 million or 20 million or 100 million. And you might be like, man, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a multi-billionaire. I want you to realize this is a true statement. Anything pursued beyond that freedom number is being pursued because of the reasons of power and control. Okay. Certain amount of money is needed. A certain amount of wealth is needed for freedom. Anything beyond that number is being utilized for power and control. If you only have, you need X amount for you and your family in every area of your life. If your whole entire life is covered, why need more? And I'm not saying don't have more, but I'm saying if you're trying to get more, I want you to realize and confront that you are pursuing it for power and control. Power and control aren't bad unless they are. And I want you to think about, okay, if I'm pursuing, billionaire status for power and control, why? What am I trying to have power and control of? What am I going to do with that power and control? Is it good or is it bad? right? Like there's literally people in this planet right now that are planning, like there's too many people on the planet. We need to get rid of some people, right? Like that's power and control. That's a lot of damn power and control. Oh, we have too many dangerous things coming in from the sun. We need to come up with something to block the sun. That's power and control, right? So we do need power and control. It's important. The right people need to have it. The right people need to be in a position. But I want you to realize that that's not something you have to do, right? Like that's power and control requires responsibility and it's optional. It's a choice. So if you're like, man, I want wealth to have an ideal life, come up with that number. Don't come up with a power and control number, right? And if you're like, man, I want to be a world changer and I want power and control over political bodies and all sorts of things, and I want influence, right? Then admit that and say, hey, I need 100 million for me. The rest is that I can go buy the medical institutes or go, whatever it is you're going to do, right? Like that's your thing. But I want you to realize that that's real. That's a true, a differentiating factor between why a person would need a certain amount of money versus another number. Okay. So guys, that's all I have for you tonight. I'm going to wrap up and answer questions. I know we went a little bit over. Again, if you have questions, I want you to drop them in the comments. If you're on Facebook, drop them in the comments. We'll read over them. If you're on Zoom, drop them in the comments on Zoom and we will read over those and I'll answer them live as well. If this helped you, share it. If this is, and what I want to share, guys, because I know some of you guys are like this, because I used to be like this, is you'll share stuff because it's going to bother people. You're like, man, all the people, on this belief system, they're going to disagree with this and it's going to piss them off. If you're that person, make this be that, because this will actually help them. You guys already know in your Facebook feeds, your Instagram feeds, how many people need this message right now. Share it, right? Like the people that are saying, let's tax the rich, the 1% are evil. We need more government handouts. We need this. Share this message so that they have a higher chance of seeing it. Okay. So let's go ahead and just see if we have any questions here. All right. So again, if you're on Zoom, drop your question in the comments. Let me see if we have anything on Facebook first. All right. Good to see everyone. We don't have any questions. We have some comments, some shares, some laughs, which is a good thing. I appreciate that. I don't see anything on Zoom so far either. Good. Let me just check the Q&A. Cool. I don't see any questions, guys. So we're going to wrap up here. Again, if you have not gotten a copy of my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom, right? The number one obstacle you will face in trying to build wealth is not having a blueprint to get there. This is the blueprint that I am following, that I put together and organized. I got this by studying the top 1% of wealth, banks, insurance companies, Fortune 100 corporations throughout history to see what did they actually do to build wealth. Not that what does my financial advisor say, or the fat cats on Wall Street, or the banks, or the 1% billionaire who tells you to buy index funds, but then he doesn't do that himself. Not any of that. What did they actually do? By reading about them and learning about the biography. So if you do not have a copy of this book, go to jerryfetta.com/B2F. That's the letter B, the number 2, the letter F. Get a copy of it so you have a blueprint. If you need to rewatch this and get the homework for over the weekend, do that. Other than that, guys, I think that's all we're going to do for tonight. We're going to wrap it up here. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and I will see you guys next week.